Hello, my name is Čeněk Pýcha and welcome to our lesson Designing Educational Applications that was prepared by me and my colleague Vojtěch Ripka from the Institute for the Study of Totalitarian Regimes in Prague. We are working there in the Department of Education, and we would like to share some of our experience in designing educational applications that we made in past years. It's necessary to say that we are not working with classical museum collections, we are working with primary sources, but we trust that the principles we are presenting here could be also very useful for your projects, and the principles of working with cultural heritage can be really similar to our approach. So we divided our lesson to some steps. We will start with introduction of our institute, of the Department of Education and our work. Then we will move to the project Socialism Realized, that is the case study for this lesson, and we will demonstrate the principles on this project. Then we will concentrate on the user interface and architecture, how we are working with design, like with didactical tools. Then we will focus on pedagogy and on pedagogical principles that we are applying in our projects. Then we will concentrate on the curation. Curation from your work, but in our context, the curation is more the tool for working with primary sources and working with learners. And then we will just conclude our observations and our thesis. In the beginning of our lesson, we would like to present the context of our work and the context of our products for history education. We are working in the Department of Education at the Institute for the Study of Totalitarian Regimes in Prague, which is quite interesting organization. Institute for the Study of Totalitarian Regimes was founded in 2008 by the specific law by the Czech Parliament. Our colleagues in the research department, they are concentrating on research and documentation of the period between 1938 and 1989. In the Czech Republic, we call this period time of the totality or of the totalitarian regimes. The sister organization of our institute is the State Security Archive that preserved the files made or products of the state security organization during the period of totalitarian regimes, like secret police, for example. So our colleagues are working with files and with documents of surveillance, for example. In our department, we are concentrating on the history education, especially history education of the history of 20th century. And during years of our work, we developed some specific approaches we would like to share here, not just in the methodological sense, but also in the sense of designing of digital application. We are trying to be help for history teachers who are motivated to to improve history education and their teaching. We are inspired by international research in history education, and we are trying to adapt some approaches of history education to the Czech environment and to Czech schools, like for example historical thinking or inquiry-based learning. And we will present these approaches in the next steps of our lesson and our presentation. We are not working just with teachers. We are also working with broader audience of academia workers, for example, from workers from museums, from libraries, and we are trying to present history like the open question and like something what we can discuss in the public space. This aim is also connected with popularization, and we are trying to be active also in public space. Important is also international cooperation. As I said, we are trying to be in contact with academia and with contemporary research in history education. We are working with teachers. We are organizing some seminars for teachers, but also some workshops and conferences, and we are trying to inspire teachers by presenting our methods like live, and we are inviting teachers to experience also our methods in during our workshops and during seminars. We are trying to be also in contact with broader audience. This is the photo from our summer school, and but we are also in touch with public audience, as you can see on this picture in the tram. The key principles of designing of educational app we will demonstrate on this project Socialismrealised.eu, which is the project for international audience. We developed it like the tool for teachers at the international universities or at universities where the Erasmus students are studying. This project is concentrating on life in communist Czechoslovakia, and we are trying to concentrate some of our methodological approaches to the limited number of educational resources. So from our resources, we are working in Czech schools. We chose some film clips, some files or archival files, and some pictures that are working very well, Czech schools, and we tested it with the international audience because it's quite difficult sometimes to translate some cultural motifs and some cultural background of the resources. We are starting the Socialism Realized with the introductory film clip, like intro. You can see it on homepage of the Socialism Realized, and I will demonstrate some of the principles or some perspective of Socialism Realized on this film clip. So this is intro video on the homepage, but you can see it also in the educational interface of the socialism realized with questions and with commentary. We will describe the interface later in our lesson, but let's concentrate just on the film clip now.
Byl květnem 50. výročí založení strany i májem pracovním 1310 delegátů 14. sjezdu naší strany. V těch dnech Praha přivítala zástupce komunistických stran. Nejvýznačnější mezi nimi byla delegace Bratrské komunistické strany Sovětského svazu, vedená generálním tajemníkem Leonidem Iljičem Brežněvem.
Okay, so we saw the film clip. We call it Friends from Moscow, and it's important to say that it's not official name of the film clip. We are working with these names of these resources, like we are trying to demonstrate already in the name what the students should concentrate on, what is important for us, what is important in the interpretation. And this film clip represents some of the key principles of socialism realized, because we can see in the film clip something what is internationally known about the communism. We can see these important politicians kissing themselves. It was I can see that it's quite iconic, these kissing politicians, and it's something like the myth about the communism. It was depicted also on the Berlin Wall, for example, and it's well known in the pop culture. And we are trying to see, okay, or we are trying to say to the audience, okay, you know something about the communism, but let's try to understand it deeper and not to stay just on the surface of these iconic pictures of communist politicians. This film clip is important for us because we can analyze it quite deeply. There is a lot of things, a lot of objects, what you can describe, what you can analyze. Also, environment of the airport is quite interesting. You can describe also the different groups of the people, and this is something what we are starting to analyze with the analysis of these objects. What you can see, who can you see in the film clip. You can describe also the commentary and the sound, and you can continue in the deeper analysis. But for us is important the description of the groups of the people depicted in the video clip. So as we said, you can see the politicians, but the politicians are in this moment not so important for us, because you can see also journalists You can see also some people like staff from the airport. You can see also some members of the security, members or of the police. And what is really important for us are these girls from the pioneer organization, the communist organization for children and young people. And this perspective is really important for us because we are trying to understand the situation of all the groups in the video clip. And especially the pioneers are really interesting for us because they are quite close to the children or to the young people. We are working with them, and they can imagine their situation, or we can try to reconstruct their situation, and we are guess what their memories, for example, today are on this event. This perspective is so important for us that we use it also for the logo of the project. So on the homepage you can see the pioneer girl from the film clip. In the following section I would like to show how we are working with user interface and architecture of website in our project, especially in Socialism Realized. This sentence, limits of the environment enable user to experience some didactical principles, is maybe the most important statement we would like to stress from our presentation. What does it mean? Limits, this is the way how to lead user through the content of your project, of your website. And there are two different approaches how to work with limits. It is necessary to find the balance between these two approaches. The first one is user-oriented. The environment is designed to lead the user to the content through the most comfortable way. The second approach is more focused on the structure and on the concept you want to present, like the curator or lecturer. And it's really necessary to decide where is the line between these two approaches, and we tried to combine these two approaches because really already in using the interface of the website you can learn something. I will present this approach in the 3 steps. The first one is focused on multiperspectivity. Multiperspectivity is the most important didactical principle that we are using in Socialism Realized, and we will look how the multiperspectivity influence the structure of the Socialism Realized project. The second one is the stress on the catalog, on the way how we are structuring the content and how we are using the catalog for work with the user. And the third step is the stress on transparency, how we are reflecting this process of searching the content in work with the users, with our learners in Socialism Realized project. These principles are obvious already in this scheme. This scheme is the structure of our website, and you can see that you have here 2 main categories how the content is structured. The first one is perspective, and the second one is era. You are choosing the perspective, you are choosing the era, and this is the way how to get to the content. So let's have a look at our catalog in the Socialism Realized project. Like the new guest to our website, you can see the introductory video, then you can see the scheme from the presentation, and this scheme works like the help for the user how to orient themselves. And then you can see the catalog. This is the main tool how to work with the content. So let's go to the catalog. And the first thing you are choosing here, the first category, is the perspective. And this is maybe surprising for the user because this is the first thing you are confronted with, and it's perspective. So you can choose ideology, you can choose memory, you can choose oppression or personal story. And you can see that the content is changing according to the category you are using. This structure is influenced by the multiperspectivity or theory or multiperspectivity. This is the key presumption of our dialectical theory, that the perspective is the important thing in interpretation of history and past, that your interpretation is influenced by your perspective. So personal story, it means that you are looking for the personal story. You are trying to understand how people were influenced by the totalitarian regimes or by the state, how the society was structured, how or what were the typical situation in everyday life. So it's quite attractive for children in schools, for example. The oppression, this is really important for our institute because we are working with state security archives, and this perspective offers you the documents of surveillance, the documents that are documenting the ways of oppression and how the oppression was used for controlling the society by state. Ideology is the official narration, this is the official language in the public space. This is quite important to understand what was the presentation of regime itself, of the official materials, and this is also really important for understanding of this communist period in Czechoslovakia. And maybe the most interesting for me perspective is the memory, because this is the perspective of us, how we are looking at history, how we are interpreting the history today. What does it mean for the people in the Czech Republic now that we lived under the communist regime until 1989, and how we are discussing also this experience. And in this chapter we are offering our experience in this way. So let's move to the second step of this part of the lesson, and this is the structure, how we are working with the structure. To understand the structure of Socialism Realized, it is necessary to have a look at era, filter, and category. We divided our content in these eras and to the specific events or topics during the communist period. So you can choose 1950s show trials, 1950s collectivization of agriculture, the most famous chapter of Czechoslovak communism, the year 1968. We divided in two chapters, Prague Spring and 1968 invasion. Then normalization, everyday life, which is really important for the pupils at Czech schools today to understand the life and experience of their parents and grandparents. then normalization, dissidents, and the last one, 1989 regime collapse. You can see that in combination of the first filter ideology and the second, first filter perspective, we have chosen ideology, and the second filter period, you can find just limited number of the content of the resources in like the result of the combination. And this is the important tool for the teachers and for the learners and for the users, because we are offering the content in some logical chapters. And you can, regarding to the catalog, you can prepare your lesson, you can prepare your presentation or your workshop, and it depends on your prioritization, what you are interested in or what you are students interested in. You have some freedom what you can choose. But the catalog is helping to have your resources in some logical connections. So, for example, you can prepare a workshop about the memory, and you can follow the memory category. So let's conclude this part of the lesson with the stress on transparency. What does the transparency mean in the context, or in this context? This is the way how we are communicating with user. This is the way how we are offering the content. We are offering the structure. We are offering some didactical principles. But we are not pushing the user to read long articles or papers about didactical principles. We are rather offering some experience with the catalog, with using the different filters, different perspectives on our resources. And design and architecture of website and cooperation with designers is really helping us in this process, how to teach user to structure the content, how to make the connections between the content, and how to choose the proper materials for their learners, for their students, for their pupils, for their lessons.
In this part, we are going to have a look at the pedagogical principles behind the objects and work with the user. So first, let's have a look at another object within socialism realized learning environment. A second object we are going to work with is again audiovisual material, one of 38 objects that are forming the socialism realized material. So we are going to the catalog. We are selecting the perspective of memory, the era of collectivization of agriculture, and this gives us a single hit, a clip called Back to the Past. It's a short clip from a documentary on remembering collectivization from 2004, and let's play it and ask some of the questions the users are presented with.
Tady je Máňa. Meldung, to nezvážení.
No tak vidíme to, no.
Pokračování příště. Tady se to dá dohromady.
To bylo pěkný, nám to říká dost, jenže
Jinýmu ne.
nevíte.
My to všechno známe, ty lidi, tak se nám to líbí. My jsme se měli za družstva dobře. To jsem si prvně namazala chleba, když začalo družstvo.
No, teď jenom to poprvé se ženský ze zemědělství také dostali třeba do Lázní na rekreaci. Do Prahy, do Národního divadla, nebo na nějaký ty zájezdy. To neexistuje.
Byly zájezdy.
No a dneska už zase ne, kdo si to může dovolit? Nikdo.
Jsem byla v Polsku, jste na mě čekali 3 neděle. Odměněná za dobrou práci. Čekali jste tu na mě.
No, už jsme dělali.
Z Baltického moře. Ježiš, to jsem se měl zadarmo.
With this clip showing old ladies watching a propagandistic film from 1950s where they're featured together with the director of the propagandistic movie. They're remembering the collectivization as well as the filming of the propagandistic piece. What we use this for is to show the multiplicity of the ways state socialism is remembered. Their memories go against the prevailing mainstream remembering of collectivization as an oppression and as a dark period of Czechoslovak history. And this creates some cognitive dissonance for the users. That's why we are connecting it with other objects on collectivization. We are first again asking the user to describe the scene, the different actors within it, and then think about the reasons given or potential reasons that are there for their unusual opinions about collectivization. Dense interaction with the material might be rephrased as active learning. We want the user to be cognitively activated by our approach and our material. We want an active learner. We tend to be student-centered and not to just transfer information, ready-made conclusions to the observer. That's why we are asking the user to go through a process of description, analysis and interpretation in each of the steps. We also want the active learning to be supported by creating ties with the life world of the user, his or her experience. And that's a key, one of the keys to the selection of sources and direction of the questions. Another way how we are cognitively activating the user is that we try to foster multiple literacies at once, about which we are going to speak further. The connections with the life world. In our case, students of lower upper secondary schools or colleges. That means school environment might be to some extent comprehensible for them. Also family relations, relations between generations. So many of the objects we are working with have those qualities to connect with users. Regarding the questions, posing questions such as, have you ever had to deal with a similar problem? What about your parents? Or do you think that your family or other families face similar problems even today? Or in what other ways is nostalgia for the past manifested in society? Do you see it in your own country? Where and how? This question could be posed with the material we have seen about collectivization, might again enhance the learning of the student by comparing. We are not making the state socialist experience equal to the experience of someone today anywhere in the world, but rather by comparing and finding similarities, but especially differences, the learning is enhanced. We are calling our environment pedagogically safe by posing open, meaningful questions and calling for dialogue, not only with the experience, but also with the intellectual capacity of the user, by asking him or her to hypothesize and so on, to avoid the fear of mistake, which reduces the potential for learning and is very present, especially in Czech schools, but all over Central and Eastern Europe. And we are definitely trying to avoid expert obsession with details. So in the first clip you have seen there are some politicians. We know their names. For some situations and some questions, some inquiry direction, these names might be important. But in our case, there's no good reason to ask about the name of the Soviet statesman. It was Brezhnev, but how does that help the user to obtain his goal? We are also trying to control the cognitive load of the user, and we are offering highly curated content. These are the 2 points we are going to speak about next. What does controlling cognitive load mean? The user has obviously limited what does controlling the cognitive load mean? The user has limited resources, limited attention span, and we are trying to avoid any waste. So we're trying to reduce the intrinsic cognitive load, to simplify, to scaffold the knowledge construction by offering limited, manageable, successive steps, building one on another, bigger tasks may be attained. We are also trying to reduce the extraneous load. So we are trying to make the user feel comfortable only within our Socialism Realized, and not ask him for tasks that would need him to multitask, to go to Wikipedia. So that's why we are not asking for Brezhnev. That's connected to the next point. Everything extra should be left out. If it's not needed for the task, then just don't. We don't have it there. Finally, our application, as well as other educational tools, is tailor-made. So you don't need to customize it. You don't need to combine it with a number of other things that would distract your attention from the main goal. The germane cognitive load which you're trying to maximize so that the learning is supported and strengthened is by, as we have seen, connecting what is learned with your own experience and also suggesting or creating connections within socialism realized itself. We have already touched upon some principles of curation, such as learning objective being at the forefront, giving us the key to the curation. Another key would be trying to find sources that have multiple layers of meaning, that are somehow comprehensible, can be compared by the user to his or her experience, are rich when it comes to interpretation, or at least have the potential to be rich. But we have called our approach highly curated or intense curation. What does that mean? Let's put it into context. Apart from the set of socialism realized, the architecture of socialism realized, the design of socialism realized being piloted by over 800 students before it was finalized and put together online, there are other options for curation of online pedagogical tools. So let's have a look at one particular example. This is Historiana. Historiana has been created by 𝙃, an association of European history educators, and it gives, as it says on the main page, historical content and learning activities and some digital tools. So when it comes to the historical content, this is mainly sets of sources that are again pedagogically rich. These digital sources within a set are interrelated. It's open access, and it is provided either by Europeana, with which 𝙃 works very closely, or by number of partner institutions, museums, and our institute included. You can see a set created in the cooperation with Czech National Museum, where we do a joint research on the now defunct state socialist propagandistic museums. Apart from these sources, there are e-learning activities that are ready-made, but each registered user has got an option to customize these e-learning activities within own My Historiana space, or even set up own original e-learning activities, either with the sets of sources or individual sources from within Historiana or from elsewhere. Now let's compare. Socialism Realized offers a guaranteed limited set of sources. The quality control has been very dense, high, a lot of tests and pilots, but there's no adaptation possible. In case of Historiana, the intermediary, not really the end user, but the intermediary, such as teacher or museum, is empowered, especially compared to the closed system of socialism realized. Historiana is open for personalization, but that then means a limited quality control both over the personal space of each intermediary, but also even due to its vastness of the general content provided for all users, because there's no way 𝙃.𝙀 can pilot all the sets and all the learning activities. Now, let's turn to one other point I've raised with cognitive activation and our active users. We're trying to go beyond the learning objectives of classical history education and to foster multiple literacies at once. I'll show that once again on one particular example that is also an example of using the obstacle of copyright material for your own advantage. Once we were trying to set up an era part of Socialism Realized regarding the 1968 invasion to Czechoslovakia, we were contemplating about using the iconic photograph made in 1968 by Ladislav Bielik in Bratislava. You can see it on the picture. It's the black and white part. One practical obstacle that prevented us from using it directly was the fact that the photograph itself was very expensive, and there are a number of legal disputes about its use in educational and other materials in the past. So we were a bit afraid even to buy it and then use it in an open access tool. Another reason is that we were interested in and saw the potential of the photograph also not only in itself but also in itself as an object, in its iconicity. So that's why we have opted out for this picture from 1998 from the very same spot, Main Square in Bratislava, and in here the photograph is put in a social context. You can see the way history is being used and ask questions about the memory in work in 1990s and the way this photograph has been mediated. And as we know from memory studies, media of memory are very important and are shaping memory. So that's one way of enhancing the understanding of the memory of state socialism by focusing on the media.
So let's conclude the most important thesis and the most important observations from our lesson. The first one is pedagogy into the architecture. We would like to once again stress the strong connection between the pedagogy and the architecture and interface of your project in digital environment. It has also some practical consequences, like that it's necessary to to cooperate with designers from the beginning of the projects. The best way is to have your designer in your house, and it's really important to try to understand also the perspective of the web designers and IT workers. Then active learning. It's also necessary to offer this connection of the content and the real life of the user, to try to be near to the user also in choosing the content and in the curating. Pedagogically safe environment by cognitive load control dialogue with the user. Also, once again, you can or it's necessary to cooperate with the user, to be in the dialogue with the user, and to help the user orient themselves in the structure of your project. Piloting, UX texting to ensure these principles were met. It's an important part of the project planning. And last one, the examples of Socialism Realized and Historiana. Historiana is a ready-made environment for museums aiming at highly skilled teachers. We presented the most principles in this lesson on our project Socialism Realized that we understood as a source of principles for a standalone low threshold apps you can also develop in your museum or in your institution. So thank you very much for your attention, and we hope that this lesson was useful for you. We will be glad for your feedback and hope to see you in some other projects.